This lesson is going to be looking at the volume of other types of three-dimensional figures, which are pyramids, cones, and spheres. The first thing we're going to take a look at is a pyramid. Pyramids are similar to prisms, where they have the polygon as a base, with the exception of pyramids come to a point at the top. So the formula still is volume equals area of the base times the height like it was for the prism. However, because three pyramids can fill up one prism, you have to take that and divide it by 3. So the volume formula for the area of a pyramid, or the volume of a pyramid, I'm sorry, is the area of a base times the height divided by 3. So let's take a look at this pyramid. This pyramid has a rectangle as its base. It's almost a square, but one side is 1 meter shorter than the other. So I have to first find the area of the base. So if I'm looking at the area of the base is a rectangle, so area of a rectangle is area equals length times width. So the area is equal to 22 times 21. Now for this stuff you will have access to a calculator, so 21 times 22 is 462, so the area is 462. So to go back into our formula, we have volume equals the area of the base times the height divided by 3. So volume would equal 462 times the height of the pyramid, which is 35, and I would divide that by 3. The next thing I would do is I would first multiply. So 462 times 35 is 16,170, and I'd have to divide that by 3. Which would give me volume being 5,390, and then my units are meters cubed because, again, it's volume. So that's my final answer for the volume of that particular pyramid. Let's try one more. So this time, the base is a square. So the square and the rectangle have the same formula. It's still area equals length times width, but this time it's area equals 15 times 15, which is the area then of 225. So if we go back in and we fill it into our formula, my area of my base is 225, the height is 19, and then I would have to divide it by 3. So if I multiply first 225 times 19, I get 4,275, and I want to divide that by 3. Which gives you a volume of 1,425, and our units are inches cubed. Now the next thing that we're taking a look at are cones. Cones are very much like the cylinders we looked at in a previous video. Cylinders have 2 circles, one on the top and one on the bottom, whereas a cone comes to a point at the top. So we're still using the same formula, volume equals pi r squared h, because the area of the base is pi r squared times the height, h. But because you can fit 3 cones inside one cylinder, it still has, just like with the pyramid, the division by 3. So let's take a look at a couple examples of these. So if I'm looking at this particular cone, I have the formula volume equals pi r squared h divided by 3. So I would have, if I'm substituting, volume equals pi times r. Remember, r stands for the radius. In our picture, that line goes all the way through. So I would have to take the 30 and divide it by 2 to get what the radius would be, because the radius only goes from the center to one side. So 30 divided by 2 is 15. So my radius is 15. And then it's r squared times the height. And the height of that cone is 25. And then I would divide this whole thing by 3. So now following the order of operations, I have to do my exponents first. So I would have pi times 15 squared, which is 225, times 25, and that would still be divided by 3. I want to multiply before I divide, so I'm going to multiply 225 times 25, which would give me 5,625. Don't forget about the pi, we still have it, divided by 3. Again, just like with the cylinder, I'm leaving our answer in terms of pi, so I'm dividing 5,625 by 3. and I get 1,875, and we still have our pi. So our answer is volume of the cone is 1,875 pi, and then our units are feet cubed. Let's take a look at one more example. We still have the same formula, volume equals pi r squared h divided by 3. So I have volume equals pi times the radius. This time we do have the radius in the picture, it's 6 squared times the height, which is 12 divided by 3. So I have volume equals pi. I do my exponents first, so 6 squared is 36. So pi times 36 times 12 over 3. The next thing I have to do is my multiplication. So 36 times 12 is 432. And we still have our pi. And then we have to divide that number by 3. So if I divide 432 by 3, I get 144. I still have the pi. And then my units are meters cubed. Volume of a sphere is the last thing we're going to take a look at here, and this is completely different than any other figure we did. It has its own formula. The formula is volume equals 4 pi r cubed this time, divided by 3. So let's take a look at an example of a sphere. So if I'm looking at this sphere, I'm going to substitute my values in. So I have volume equals 4 pi times the radius from the picture, which is 18 to the third power, over 3. We do our exponents first according to the order of operation. So I have 4 pi, and then 18 cubed means 18 times 18 times 18, which is 5,832, and then it's divided by 3. The next thing we would do would be multiplication. So I'd have to multiply 5,832 by the 4, which gives you 23,328. I still have the pi, and then we're dividing that by 3. So if I divide that number by 3, we get the volume of the sphere being equal to 7,776. We still have the pi, and then our units are always meters cubed. Let's take a look at one more thing. If we take a look at the picture in the screen, that's not a sphere anymore. It's a half a sphere, and we call half a sphere a hemisphere. So we need to define the volume of it using the same process. So if I have my formula, volume equals 4 pi r cubed divided by 3, I have to still substitute in my values. So 4 pi times the radius, which is 6 cubed, divided by 3. So I do my exponent. So I have 4 pi, and then 6 cubed means 6 times 6 times 6, which is 216 over 3. Then I have to do my multiplication. So 216 times 4 is 864. Then we still have the pi, divided by 3. And if I divide that by 3, we get 288 pi. Now, because it's a hemisphere, or half of a sphere, we have to divide this in half. So if I divide 288 in half, we get that our volume is equal to 144. We still have the pi, and our units then are centimeters cubed. Don't forget that last step here if you have a hemisphere, because you need to be able to divide that by 2 in order to get the volume of half of the sphere, which is what you're looking for.